Try and get the lighting right. We got it? So what we have behind me is the A35 AMG, and I am somewhere in Scotland, and it is a beautiful, beautiful, I think Wednesday morning. Is it Wednesday? No, it's Thursday morning. Okay, it's Thursday morning, and I'm going to take this car for its first test drive. Now, I've driven the A45 AMG, different kind of car. This is more of your everyday sort of A-class, and I'm excited because you know what, I've always loved AMGs. They've got an incredible trim level and they're great cars to drive. So let's have a look, see what this thing can do. And I'll tell you what, this castle, if we could have a party in there, it'd be insane. Next time, AMG. Back to the car. Oh! You know what really makes me laugh is back in the day when we would be modifying cars, this is kind of what we would go for, you know, nice aero, bigger wheels, you know, painted black, tinted windows, lowered side, you know, nice little bits and bobs within the front bumper and rear diffuser. And this is all coming standard equipment on this car. I think manufacturers really woke up to the fact that the aftermarket modifying market, does that even make sense? Yeah, it does. Was worth so much money. And now they give you an out the box, nicely looking, and I don't know how it drives just yet, but it's just, yeah, it's all there, straight out the box. Bing! So the days of, you know, crashing into Halfords or going on eBay to find dodgy sort of OEM plus pattern parts are over, because you can buy a straight out the box, mean looking machine. Let's go see how it drives. And oh my God, it is cold this morning. Okay, let's go. I'm not even joking. I just got in the car and like the whole world just fell out my nose because it's that cold. That's disgusting, but I have to explain to you guys, this is what we have to go through to collect content. No, I'm only joking, we ain't saving lives here, are we? Okay then. Well, do you know what? Trim level in these cars is impeccable, and we get free snacks. Look at that. That is gonna be mine later, but that's not the point. Yeah, do you know what? I have to hand it to Mercedes and AMG. Every time I get into one of their cars, I'm always very pleasantly surprised at just how nice it is to be in here. Oh, turn that down. Okay, so we are just about to get ourselves on the road, making sure that, oh God, that's turning it up, not turning it down. I'm gonna put my seatbelt on, and then we're gonna get on the road to Narnia. One thing I do quite like is here, look, the gears are actually on a nice little stick here, which, you know what, kind of reminds me of my dad's old 59 Chevy Bel Air. You know, I had to pull it up to put it into gear and then pull it all the way back down to put it into park. So we are now in drive, but if you wanted to put it into park, literally a little click of a button, and reverse, same thing, neutral, drive, oh God, sorry. Yeah, drive. Now we are off, seatbelts are on, engage. Let's go. Okay team, let's go. Oh, okay, fine. I tell you what, the quickest way to find out whether the suspension is good on a car is to take it over some savage bumps. I came over these last night in the dark and almost shot myself through the roof. So far, so good. I mean, this place is just insane. I know we're here for the car, but that's the thing with press strips. They really do go all out when it comes to the locations, and it just blows my tiny mind. But alas, we are leaving now and we'll be heading up to the lunch spot. So I've got about 3 hours to get to know the A35 AMG. So far, so good. I tell you what I am going to do though, is I'm going to change this driving position because the steering wheel is too high for me. Manual movement on the steering wheel, kind of like that. Feels very analog, considering that everything is like a spaceship in here, from the dashboard to the infotainment to the augmented reality on the nav, which I'll show you guys in a bit. It's fairly insane. But you know, if you're one of those people that always misses the turn because it's like 200 yards and 200 yards could be 200 kms to you, I ain't got a clue sometimes. It actually shows you where to turn left, or in this case, it's telling me to go right. Okay, let's get out of here. Oh my God, no, it's all good. Now turn left. Oh no, I went the wrong way. Why? Flick her into Sports Plus, because I have actually had it in Comfort whilst I've been driving. And okay, so let's give you a very, very quick rundown of this car. It is a 4-cylinder, it is a 2-litre, it is a turbo, and that is 4.7 seconds 0 to 62, and that's 155 miles an hour as your top speed. As we all know, that's always kind of by the by. The performance is impressive. What I find about this car is that it manages to package everything up so nicely and so discreetly. I've been driving around these roads and having an absolute blast, and this thing feels absolutely solid. Now, you know, comparative to the VW Golf that I drove, and I just thought, you know, with that 4-wheel drive, these things feel like they would drive upside down if you let them. This very much is the same. It's got excellent capabilities, and I swear, you know, we do get spoiled on these press trips because we do get taken to places where we really can road test the car. And I am just having great fun flying around, well, not flying around, obviously doing all the speed limits, but, you know, coming through these fabulous lanes, and this thing is just stuck to the road, undulation, bump, everything. You can get active damping on this car, which really does help if you're driving it rather sprightly, but I have to admit, and I know I don't want to fall into that trap of being that person that's always like, oh, everything's great. This is for the 4MATIC on this thing. It's ridiculous. Considering this isn't really like the top sports model, so that would be your A45, which, you know, there is a new model coming this year. The A35, I mean, they sold over 40,000 of the A-Class in the UK last year alone, and do you know what? I can tell why. Sometimes when I'm sat in a car doing a review, that sort of thing, I'm almost looking for reasons to try and pick it apart, but there's one thing that Mercedes seem to do extremely well is they make solid and just incredibly nice places to be. Does that make sense? You know, like I'm driving it and I can sort of poodle along in drive and in comfort, and it does everything I want it to do. It keeps me warm and it keeps me entertained, and it's got all of the driver's aids that you could ever possibly want. And yet, if you do want to sort of take it up a notch and go for a blast round in some of these roads, then it's all there at your fingertips. It's very responsive going through these lovely corners here. Now, there are some really nice windy roads, and when I'm trying to sort of get the feel for a car, I like to put it through its paces a little bit. And I have to admit, again, the A35 is impressing me. Like, the dampening on it is great. The chassis feels quite stiff, and you know what, there was an AMG engineer sat with us at dinner last night, and they were saying, you know, there's a lot of development been put into these cars to make sure that they are, you know, exquisite to drive, but also good for everyday road use. I don't know why I sort of paused between that then. I'm sort of taking in all of this scenery that's going on around me, and yet keeping my eyes on the road at the same time and talking to you guys. It's definitely a skill that I'm getting 110% better at, is driving and also giving you a rolling narrative of what's flowing through my brain right now. I really quite enjoy the juxtaposition of this car and the scenery. It's like modern, old school, but yet still fits in, and it's not too asbo that it wouldn't look out of place somewhere like this. I think it's really quite nice and subtle, almost between, you know, when you got the RS and S line, it's just got that little slightly more pared-backed vibes to it. But then, you know, for me, what I like is this. Chris Harris absolutely hates it and requested a car without one on, but personally I think it's just enough to show you that you got something under your right foot, but you know, you're not going to get looked at funny when you drive into Waitrose car park. Ah, filled rolls. Now that is me after Christmas. Ways that you know that you're in Scotland. I am blue. Going through the different driving modes that you've got: comfort, slippery, sport, sport plus. And you know what? I would go as far to say that this car is idiot proof. Now, what do I mean when I say that? I basically mean that these days, you know, cars, there's so many driver assists because people out there kind of need all the help that they can get. You know, as I do think that we make up such a small population, actual drivers, of the general population of car, you know, car buyers. You have to look after one, but also look after the other. Do you know what I mean? But this thing has kind of got it all packaged up in a neat sort of 35 grand bracket price point. I've been enjoying driving this sprightly, but then also at the bottom end, it is absolutely a wonder. It is so comfortable, and it is just it feels so solid in your hands as well. Like the ergonomics are all really nice all around here. I honestly feel like you could put Cletus, the yokel, in this thing and even he wouldn't be able to drive it off the road. Well done, bravo Mercedes, you have made the idiot-proof everyday car. I just come out here to have a little 5 minutes think and stop, because do you know what, I've been driving this and I am heartily impressed. And as I was saying earlier, I honestly think this is an idiot-proof car. Like, you can drive the wheels off it and yet it's still very solid, very torpedo-like, and keeps pushing and pushing on forwards on the road. What do I think? I mean, having a look at the outside of it now, I'm I just like it. I mean, I know I say this about a lot of cars, but what you have to remember here is cars these days are getting so good at providing everything that we want and need on the road that you have to really like look for the negatives, and I'm still looking for the negatives on this one, but when I find it I'll get back to you. But yeah, I tell you what, popping down that 7-speed DSG, bloody lovely. Got lots of room, lots of range to sort of take it all the way up to that 400 Newton meters of torque, and it's got you know, it's got the Boy Racer dashboard where you can change and put all the performance stuff in, and you can watch how much you're using and how much you put your foot down or not put your foot down. But the one thing that I do find about this car, and hear me out, you know, talk to me in the comments, you know, when you've got like a real performance car, you've got an RS3 or, you know, the A45 AMG, I sometimes feel almost like under pressure to, you know, utilize the whole breadth of its power, you know what I mean? You feel like you have to exploit all of the performance that you've got under your right foot, whereas with this, you've got just the right amount and yet you still have all the sporty looks. I think it's an absolutely great, everyday, sporty, solid car. What do you guys think? Let me know. Could be chatting breeze, but I tell you what it is cold. Well, that is my drive of the A35, almost done for the day. I have stopped at Glenfiddich Distillery because if anyone knows me, I do love an old fashioned, obviously not when I'm driving before you absolute comment warriors get involved. I am really impressed with it, genuinely. It's mid-January and I think this is probably one of the best style cars that I'll drive this year. It's got attitude, it's got good style, and it's got so much grip. It is a real confidence builder. If you're someone who enjoys to drive on the weekend but needs something that looks good and, you know, very practical, this car is it. Refined, I think the word that I used in the car was. Refined. Mercedes, well done. I am going to go drive it back to the airport because I need to get myself back to London and get on making some more videos for you guys. So keep watching my Girls Guide 2 review series because there's going to be plenty more coming because I've kicked my own ass this year and I'm going to be making a lot more content. See you later.